There are people that get their websites built and they have no real say in the website that's built. I can't tell you how many times I've talked to someone that said, did you pick this theme? Like the layout, the structure, the way everything's going. I'm talking to you and I don't see any of you in the website. Well, no, the web designer picked the theme and they, because I didn't really have a lot of information, they started putting a copy and stuff together. What they created was what they thought your audience would want to hear. And they didn't create something that was a version of you. So if someone reads the website, if someone reads content and that person is creating what they think you are, their perception of you, and that perception doesn't line up with the perception you want the audience to have, what happens is people will read the content, they'll think they get a handle on who you are, and then they're going to have a conversation with you, and they can't understand why it's two drastically different people. I can't explain it enough. I can tell you, actually, when I'm doing some of these networking calls, I had someone refer someone to me and I had to get on a call with him today. And the guy's great. He sends like a pre-video prior to the call. This thing is, I checked out your website. Here's some of the things that I think we could talk about that would be interesting. And I'm looking forward to the call. When I got that clip, I realized he was looking at my done for you website. He was looking at majority.media. The issue is the conversation that we were going to have is more about my done with you services, how I collaborate with people, how I can help guide people through things. His expertise was on guiding people through things. Done for you side is my way of saying that person has more money than time, and they're not necessarily looking at being guided and taught and educated. They just want to know that it can be done. So when he went to that website, he had no reason to really think that this was going to be a good connection. And I started the call by saying that, listen, I want to start by saying first, thank you for getting on this call, because based on the site that you looked at and based on your expertise, I can tell that you weren't necessarily sure that this was going to be a good conversation and a good connection. Let me tell you why it is and why that perception isn't the best perception to have. So I walked them through the done for you service. And then I said, here's the things that I think that I do that would actually resonate with you and be something that matters. And as we started to walk through it, he went from slumped over, like, okay, let's just get through this call, to, oh man, like I say something like that. And here's my version of it. He started pulling up screen shares and saying, well, let me show you this and let me show you that. And if I'm honest, that's one of the things that made me switch from talking about blind spots to talking about the cost of trying to figure things out on your own. Because I said, before we got on this call, I was actually working on something and I wanted to kind of document the cost of trying to figure it out on your own, because it's more costly than people think. And if they actually knew, in hindsight being 2020, they would absolutely go, you know what? I'd rather pay the money on the front end than the back end. Now, I love stories. So I will share a story that all I always think of when I think about someone trying to pay for something and figure it out on the back end. I was having an issue with an older refrigerator that I had. And I think it was a Freon issue or something like that. But I called the guy out. The repairman came in. He said, okay, uh, it's going to cost this much for me to be able to fix it. I think it's the Freon, but I have to run through some tests to be able to make sure. And I got to charge you for the test. I got to charge you for the labor, but then I can kind of give you a discount on the actual Freon and the things that I'm going to have to do to make sure that it actually works. And my initial thought was, well, I don't like the price and you're not giving me a certain level of certainty that makes me feel confident. What happens if you go through this test and I pay you to go through those steps and you can't deliver it? What happens if you say, well, it's not the Freon, I have to leave and come back? Well, then I paid you and I don't know that you're coming back. And I explained it to the guy and the guy said, okay, well, here's the thing. I have two prices. I just gave you the first price. Now I'm going to give you the second price. I said, second price? Well, I mean, now I'm interested. What is the second price? The second price is when I leave and you realize that you actually did need me and you make me have to come back over here. I'm going to have to charge you for making me come back over here. I'm going to have to charge you for whoever you use as a cheaper option to fix whatever they broke or didn't do right, just to get back to the point that we're at right now. And then I'll charge you that original rate. So it's going to almost be double what I'm offering you right now. Do you want me to do it now? Or do you want to wait until you realize, oh man, I should have just listened to that guy and end up paying twice as much? I said, I'm going to pay you the money that you're asking for now. And I'm also going to pay you a bonus because I want to know if you'll allow me to be able to share that story, because that's gold. I need to be able to explain that to clients and people that I'm talking to with their business, to say, there's the first price of trust me when I'm saying I'm an expert and I can deliver on those results. And then there's the second price of, I gave you a cautionary tale. I was able to say, if you don't do this, this is going to go this way. And if it does, this is how this could change for you. This is how the price could go up. You don't get to come back and go, you know, you were right, but can you give me that original price? The answer on that for most people is going to be no. So it's not much different when it comes to putting together strategies or putting together the things that you need as your foundation with your business. You have to be able to make sure that you're doing things in the right order so that you don't have to go back and do them again. Now, there's nothing wrong with a pivot. A pivot is something where you feel like you've got a good handle on it and you learn something new. So you tweak things a little bit. But there's a significant difference between making a pivot and winging it. Winging it is just, oh, I'll figure it out when it comes up. It's not an issue right now. I'll deal with it when it happens. Dealing with it when it happens leads to stress, anxiety. It leads to a loss of confidence, not just for yourself, but for the people around you, your support system. You can have family members that are all in on you being able to start your business. But if you're winging it and you're trying to figure it out as you go along, that 18 months can turn into 3.5 years. Who's going to really want to sit around for 3.5 years and watch you stumble through something and continue to have that same level of confidence in you that they would have had during that first 18 months? So it would make sense to bring someone in that can help map everything out and guide you through the things to be able to expect so that when someone says, how's things going with your business? It's not, well, I'm still figuring it out. It's, let me tell you what I have in place and let me tell you what comes next. And then after that, I've got this milestone and it's going to take me around this long to be able to get there. If you can give someone a 6-month plan of what you have in place and you're already showing them the results that you're able to deliver, you have more people that are going to feel confident about supporting you.